collaboration with the Cyprus Mail. This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Coming up on the programme this week, we'll hear about a street quest around Old Nicosia.
You can do it on your own. Some people will run it to see how fast they can do, but some people take their children out and they all walk around. We had several families last time who had a great time.
The European Commission sends a statement of objections to Google about its Android operating system.
Those tablet and smartphone manufacturers are not free to choose which search engines and which browser to install on their devices.
And in view of the behaviour of our parliamentarians as they dissolved ready for May 22nd's general election, we'll talk to a former Member of Parliament about whether what happened on the last day is normal.
If it's in our interest, we are prepared to cut a few corners. And I see this happening all the time in business, in whatever. So, yes, it may not be exactly correct, but then, okay, he is our cousin, he is our friend, he is and it's my pocket. So, you can see, it all boils down at the end to the country's culture. And our culture is eminently poor.
On Wednesday, that's the 27th of April, you have the chance to go around the streets of Old Nicosia on a quest. It's something that was started last month and has been so successful it's probably going to happen almost every month from now on. All you need is a pen to write down your answers and a €2 entry fee. It's all the idea of Diana Bridger, who joins us now. Diana, what did give you the idea for a street quest? I know you're into orienteering yourself, aren't you? But it's a little bit more, let's say, public-friendly than orienteering.
This is very public-friendly. You don't need a compass to go around the streets of Old Nicosia. It's not very difficult. And the questions are very easy. It's easier for us to organise. We don't actually have to put out any controls or anything, and we're not calling it orienteering. It's a quest. Your quest is you have 1 hour to locate and answer as many questions as you can on our map.
Now, I've seen the map of the last one, and it's taking in a fairly wide area. Are you going to have to run this, or can you do it at a walking pace and still finish within the time? Because you're going to penalise people who are more than an hour late, aren't you?
If you're smart and clever and you can, route choice is up to you, you can easily walk all the way around the 20 points that we'll have on the map, and do it within the hour.
And you're doing this in the evening, because, of course, it's getting much warmer now during the day here. So is that a problem at all, because streetlights are on and so on, or was that just the choice because of the heat?
No, it was going to be always going to be an evening event. Even in the winter months, we'll still have it in the evenings.
So tell us what we do.
Basically, your quest is you have 60 minutes from the time you start to locate and navigate yourself to 20 points on the map. Each point there will be a simple question to answer, like how many green bottles hanging on the wall, what is the name of the restaurant, how many mannequins in the window. Very, very simple, but your quest is to answer the question and go on to the next point.
And I suppose the whole idea, because so many of us live in Nicosia and never take the trouble to walk around some of those lovely narrow old streets in the old quarter, is that the idea, to get people more familiar with the surroundings and the beauty of Old Nicosia?
Well, that's one of the reasons, but it's also nice to get out and walk. The old city is great to walk around. It's as I said, people are not likely to get lost. People have a great fear of getting lost when they go out and do these things, so you're not likely to get lost. The map is there. There might not be street names on the map, but you can easily navigate yourself around, and you'll get fit doing it. You can do it on your own. Some people will run it to see how fast they can do, but some people take their children out and they all walk around. We had several families last time who had a great time, and we've had such good feedback, we're certainly going to hold it again.
And so the next one, as we said, Wednesday the 27th. It starts at 7 o'clock, I think.
Well, registration will open at 6:45, and we'll allow people to leave any time between 7 and 8. And so everyone will have an hour. You'll get a little electronic timing thing, which one person in the team will put on their finger. So there's be no squibbles about timing. It'll all be electronic. And you'll get penalties. You'll have points taken off if you're late back.
OK, and you'll answer the questions and come back. How long does it take you? Because you had over 50 teams, I think, or 50 people last time. Some are in teams and some aren't, so you'll have to explain that too. But how long does it take you to actually collate all the answers at the end?
Very simple. Each team only has one question sheet. Each team or individual only will issue them with one question sheet, one map. And it takes a couple of seconds to sort of have you got the questions right and calculate their points. And it's all their timing is printed out anyway.
Is there a prize?
Well, we would like to. We're open to sponsors. And that's with the more interest. We gave some little prizes out to the children last time, and we would like to have some sponsors, and we would like to make it a league so that people come back and they will get their points as a league. And we'll say, let's say, if we carry on our league until December, we'll say the best 8 scores that or 6 scores that you've had a percentage. We'll see how it goes.
How long does it take you to actually set out the course? Because you've got to walk all these areas. Can you do, in a sense, more than one at a time, so that as you walk round you get a dozen questions for a similar area and then spread them out over the next 12
Yes, exactly.
quests?
Yes, exactly. But there are a couple of us who will be taking it in turns to organise it. Somebody else will be organising the next one, and hopefully I'll get a turn to run around myself.
So where can people find out more if they missed any of the details? At Facebook? Have you got a website?
We don't have a website or a Facebook. It is on the Cyprus Orienteering website. However, I can leave you my telephone number and my email. It's 99413 and my email is bridger@un.org, and we'll send you more information.
And I'm sure there's something about it on the CVAR website, because we should say it starts from the Centre for Visual Arts and Research.
Correct, and we hope that people will stay behind and have a drink or have something to eat at the Balthazar restaurant, which is really very value.
Up on the terrace, couldn't be better after you've had a walk or a gentle jog around Old Nicosia. That's the Street Quest event number 2 on Wednesday between 7 and 9 p.m.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
Yesterday, the European Commission sent a statement of objections to Google about its Android operating systems and applications. Margriet Vestager explained.
What we found is that Google pursue an overall strategy on mobile devices to protect and expand its dominant position in Internet search. It is doing so by imposing unjustified restrictions and conditions on manufacturers of devices who's running Android mobile operating system, as well as on mobile network operators. Google obliges manufacturers who wishes to pre-install Google's Play Store on their device also to pre-install Google Search and to set the default search provider on those devices. In addition, those manufacturers who wish to pre-install Google's Play Store or Search also have to pre-install Google's Chrome browser. In short, those tablet and smartphone manufacturers are not free to choose which search engines and which browser to install on their devices. We have found evidence that due to Google's behavior, some manufacturers have decided not to use an alternative version of Android that has been developed by a credible competitor. And we have concerns that this hampers the development of rival versions of Android, which could develop into credible platforms for competing apps and services. Google provides financial incentive to manufacturers and mobile network operators on condition that Google Search is pre-installed as the exclusive search provider on their devices. We have found evidence that, as a result, device manufacturers and mobile network operators have refrained from pre-installing alternative search services. Today's statement of objection finds that, as a result of Google's behavior, rival search engines, mobile operating systems, and web browsers have not been able to compete on their merits, but rather been artificially excluded from certain business opportunities. This is not good. It is one of my priorities for consumers to enjoy a wide range of mobile and innovative platforms, products, and services. The Commission has now set out its preliminary findings in today's statement of objection. To be clear, this is an interim step and not the end of the road. Google now has 12 weeks to respond, and it also has the possibility to request an oral hearing to present its views. I will obviously carefully consider Google's arguments before deciding how to proceed.
Margriet Vestager, member of the European Commission, stating the objections sent by the Commission to Google on Android operating systems and applications.
In collaboration with the Cyprus Mail, this is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
The biggest achievement of Crime Stoppers has been the ability of the public to be able to give information about crime anonymously.
There's no way I could have kept prostituting without the drugs. There's no way I could have had my body used like a public toilet, because that's actually what prostitution is.
And then the fourth series I started 3 days after I'd won the Oscar, so the whole of the Monarch of the Glen experience was all interplatted with the Gosford Park Oscar experience.
I was working with Ronnie James Dio, and David was going to reform Whitesnake in 2003.
Cyprus was chosen because Cyprus is a stable, peaceful and secure place.
We have to really look closely. What are we doing with children? What are we doing with adolescents? And what are we doing with adults that can help them move into a more literate situation?
The ones that I'm proudest of are the ones that were true discoveries, where we found something we didn't know existed.
Parliament has dissolved in preparation for the May 22nd elections, and on their last day's work before they disbanded, they passed a whopping 59 bills that have all gone now to the Presidential Palace, and some of them straight to the Attorney General, who has come out saying that many of them, or parts of them, might be unconstitutional. It's a headache for him because they can't be sent to the Supreme Court later than 15 days after, so his desk is full. Is this normal behaviour for a Parliament about to go into a general election? Well, joining us on the programme this week is Dinos Lordos. He himself was a Cypriot MP between 1981 and 1991. So, Dinos, is it usual in the last day of parliamentary business to whack through, I think, more bills than have been passed in the previous 8 months or so?
Not so many. Every parliament, during its last session, is trying to finish some unfinished work, which is not unreasonable. But this is a grossly overdone affair. And as everybody knows, and the newspapers are explaining, it was done because parties and parliamentarians, members of parliament, thought that they should pass some bills in a populist vein to avoid any questions or potential questions from their electorate when they would be canvassing. And I think they have really overdone it this time. But in general, it is true that at the end of a session there are bits of unfinished business, And some of it is passed over to the next parliament or the next session, in this case the next parliament, and some of it is being pushed through in a hurried manner.
But the extraordinary thing to me is that a large number of our MPs are lawyers, so they surely know what is constitutional and what is not. And there are some that they've passed that clearly are not. For example, this idea of having the government bail out bondholders who took out loans, but not bondholders who didn't.
Let's make something clear. There may be lawyers, and there may be some good lawyers among them. The thing is that in this instance, in these cases, it's the rule of the masses which happens. So people, especially leaders, may decide that this needs to be passed, and a sensible lawyer would be overruled and would keep quiet. I am sure that all those lawyers, I think we have about 16 in this parliament, some of them were aware that they were passing totally unconstitutional legislation. Yet they kept numb, because you don't pick up a fight at the eve of an election, and especially one with your own party.
Doesn't this show a total disrespect for the Cypriot electorate?
Yes, but also I will lodge a complaint against the Cypriot electorate. That is, where is the interest? There are some lone writers, some lone citizens, writing excellent articles, logical, rational. A lot of them are published in the Cyprus Mail, or most of them are seen there and in one or two other papers, but nothing happens. Then there have been campaigns, for example, on horizontal voting. That would make a sea change in elections, parliaments, quality of parliaments, parliamentary procedures.
But that's been on the cards for, 10, 12 years or more?
For as long as you can remember.
It's not going to happen, is it?
It's not happening. Despite the campaigns, despite the efforts of so many groups, it's not happening, because that would take control out of the hands of the party leaderships and would give it to the people, who would vote horizontally, and therefore they would be able to select what they think is best.
People with integrity regardless of the party. OK, was it like this back in your day, in the 1980s?
Well, first of all, let's say it was, in some instances regarding democratic processes, it was worse. In 1976, none from my party got elected to parliament because there was the majority rule, and the other 3 or 4 parties, which were all smaller than the Democratic Rally, ganged up against the Democratic Rally, and they swept the majority, and they elected all their own members, and we were completely locked out of the parliament. There ensued a 5-year period of a lot of effort, a lot of campaigns among the people, and they were forced to go to the proportional system, which allowed us to get into the parliament for the first time in 1981. So from 76 to 81, it was even worse. Then again, in 1981, from 1981 to around 1984, 1985, what I remember is the utmost surprise of the other parties, particularly the AKEL party, when we wanted to debate a bill which had to do with the salaries and wages of the civil servants. When we raised that, they brought a bill which was giving enormous increases to the civil servants in salaries in 1982. And I remember I was among those who raised the issue and said, fine, we want to debate this. Their eyebrows shot up to the top of their heads with surprise and said, but this is an agreement between the government and the civil servants union. And all we have to do is
pass it.
I said, well, in this case, if we are not part of the process, why pass it? If it is so holy, because this trade union agreement is between the government and the unions, they can apply it themselves. They don't need our vote. We forced them to debate this. The other parties, we were a large party, or the largest, but we were a majority with the others ganging up. They just passed it. After, of course, we forced on them a 5 or 6 month debate, where we pointed out all the weaknesses. We pointed out that the salaries of the government, of the civil service, would shoot up in multiple numbers. At the time, the total salary bill of the government was £140 million. It's €2.7 billion now. And that's after it came down in the last few years by a few hundred.
So you could see that mushrooming of the civil service coming. What do you, when you look at the current Parliament and some of the extraordinary things that we hear MPs say these days, not to mention, of course, the several cases of MPs who've been caught breaking the law, and some of them have still been put on the party tickets to stand again?
Yes, I think that's unbelievable. It's amazing. It shouldn't happen.
There's no parliamentary regulation that says if you have a criminal record you're not allowed to stand?
The problem, there is no criminal record. Yes, there is, but there was no criminal record yet. For example, the speeding MP hasn't been sentenced yet. Or the...
if he were...
Or the Bekafiko eating MP has not been...
well, he's not even been prosecuted, has he?
Yeah.
No, right, but from the work you did on the Ethics Committee, if an MP has his immunity lifted and is found guilty, is he automatically kicked out of Parliament?
Yes, if he is condemned by the court, if he is sentenced, and if his appeal fails. So if it is a final sentence, yes, he loses his parliamentary seat.
Of course, in many other countries, he'd simply resign as soon as there was a hint of impropriety.
Yes, but you have heard this story that this is Cyprus repeatedly. Have you not heard that? I'm hearing it every day. Yes, but this is Cyprus, you see. However, I go back again to what I said before. Where are the people? Public memories are short, as you know. You're a very experienced journalist, and you know that it catches the news for a few days, and at most it will go for a month, or 6 months is unprecedented. And this is what the politicians are banking on. The short memories of the population, of the electorate. That's number one. Number two is that I think that in Cyprus we are not very honest. In that if it's in our interest, we are prepared to cut a few corners. And I see this happening all the time in business, in whatever. So, yes, it may not be exactly correct, but then, okay, he is our cousin, he is our friend, he is and it's my pocket. So you can see, it all boils down at the end to the country's culture. And our culture is eminently poor. Now, if you ask me about this, I will tell you, because I'm an old man by now and I have lived through so many things. I remember the times, especially before the invasion, when you could rely on people, when you could make a promise. You would make a promise or get a promise and you would expect it to be kept. Now you can see with all these documents and contracts that are signed, our litigation is at the top of the world charts. So there is here something from the people which affects allows such behavior from the parliamentarians.
And as long as they can get away with it, I suppose.
Absolutely. And each one, and the other thing that has developed in Cyprus into a bit of a profession, you create a group or join up a union, a trade union or whatever, and then you become reckless. There is no respect. You demand whatever you want. You can see now the blackmail, the medics, for example, the Limassol port workers. Anywhere you turn, you will see that this country has slid down to the level of operating mostly on blackmail.
But that is very much to do with the fact that over the years the whole system and successive governments have crumbled at the first sign that they need to show true leadership.
Well, true leadership is okay if they could get collectively. There is no guts for one to stand up. If they collectively would all stand up, you might get some, what shall I say, shares of true leadership. But no, there is no such thing. The eye is to the next election. The eye is to the next meeting, conference, show. They spend too much time, for example, talking and doing nothing, or going to parties, or going to memorials, or to weddings, or to all these things. Why? Because real work probably is not appreciated by the people, and therefore these people get elected now, they will get elected in May, and they will start running for the next election on the next day, on May 23, that is the day after the election. It's a wrong culture.
Well, that is the word of Dinos Lordos, who himself was an MP in the House of Representatives from 1981 to 1991, and his thoughts on the shenanigans, I think we can call it that we've seen as this Parliament wrapped up last week in preparation for elections on May the 22nd. Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.